The reason why he now mentions Saleh is corrupt is because of this, by the way. A chatter was like, oh, now he mentions that President Saleh is corrupt. It's because of this. He was trying to get you to understand. That's it, baby. Let's go. It's Johnny Harris time. Welcome Johnny Harris into our homes. We are going to be talking about the Houthis today.
The banks of the most important waterway on Earth sits the country of Yemen, a place that was two countries for decades until the year 1990 when it was unified into one. A fragile patchwork of groups, all with different tribal backgrounds, religious beliefs, and the story I want to tell starts in the 90s, when one group forms up in the northern mountains of Yemen. It started by a group of religious Yemenis who call themselves the Believing Youth, who were members of a Shiite Muslim sect called the Zaidi. Zaidi Muslims used to be the majority when the country was split in two, but in the new unified Yemen, they became a minority and felt neglected and discriminated against. At first, the group focuses on rebuilding the Zaidi religious identity, hosting summer camps for young men and offering religious education. But in the late 1990s, the group starts to change in important ways. A member of Yemen's parliament resigns in protest and joins the Believing Youth. He felt that the government of Yemen was corrupt and far too influenced by Yemen's neighbor to the north, Saudi Arabia. Al-Houthi blamed outside influence for many of the country's problems. So as he leaves the government, Al-Houthi uses his wealth and family connections in the Zaidi community to become the leader of the Believing Youth. He wants an Islamic revolution, modeled after the one in Iran, one that kicks out any foreign influence and restores Islamic values. With Al-Houthi's influence, this group of young men in the mountainous region of Yemen starts to change. They begin protesting Yemen's president, Ali Abdullah Saleh. Soon they start taking up weapons, taking over territory, and eventually setting up their own security checkpoints in their region. The Believing Youth are starting to look a lot less like a summer camp and a lot more like a militia, like a rebellion. President Saleh, who had previously supported the Believing Youth, is starting to get worried. And then in 2001, the entire Middle East would change forever. After 9/11, the US launches a war on terror. They ask President Saleh for help, and he cooperates, taking military aid and allowing American special forces to operate inside Yemen, where the terrorist group Al-Qaeda has a presence. 18 months later, the US presence in the region would balloon even more when the American military invades and occupies Iraq. For Al-Houthi and his group...
I just want to point out something here. Al-Qaeda still has a presence in Yemen. Al-Qaeda still has a presence in Yemen. And they are using American weapons, or did still have... I don't know what Al-Qaeda looks like in Yemen now. But up until like 2016, 2017, 2018, Al-Qaeda literally operating just like they used to at the behest of the Saudi government was straight up participating in the fucking genocide of the Yemen population being directed by Saudi Arabia. How'd they get the American weapons, chat? One must ask themselves how they got those American weapons. It wasn't a fucking accident. They were working with the Saudi government. Much to consider here.
Of young men, this crosses a red line and deeply radicalizes the movement. Al-Houthi criticizes the president publicly for pandering to what he sees as American imperialism in Muslim lands, and many in Yemen agree, joining the movement and bolstering their numbers. Al-Houthi adopts the violent slogan that sits on the flag of his movement to this day: God is great, death to America, death to Israel, curse on the Jews, victory to Islam. President Saleh feels threatened by the growth of this increasingly radical movement that is taking control of territory in the north. He issues an arrest warrant and a bounty for al-Houthi and brutally cracks down on their protests. In response, the believing youth launch an armed rebellion in the north of Yemen, leading to counterattacks by the Yemeni military. Shortly after the fighting begins, al-Houthi is...
I'm not gonna lie. Johnny Harris videos are kind of a banger when you think about it. Because, like, if you've already made up your mind about American imperialism being bad or the war on terror being bad, things that he and his audience take for granted as, like, you know, kind of problematic, but ultimately in the right direction, then yeah, it's like, he's not wrong. He's literally like, yeah, the Houthis believed that the Saleh government was working alongside American imperialists. And it's like, yeah, no, it's not wrong. It is correct.
Killed in a cave in the north. The rebels he leaves behind fight on with new conviction, and the world would know them by the name of their martyr, a symbol of imperial resistance that would soon be firing rockets at Israel and hijacking cargo ships in the Red Sea. This Yemen story is about to get really fascinating. I'm going to pause for a second because I need to thank the sponsor of today's video. The sponsors are how we're able to do our journalism here on YouTube, so thank you Incogni for sponsoring today's video. I've been using Incogni for about 18 months now, and it has really changed my digital life. Most of us don't know that our information, our name, our date of birth, our address, our browser history is a commodity. It is bought and sold.
I'm doing ethical
on
react.
Data market where data brokers make a lot of money selling our information to corporations or insurance companies that want to profit off of us. They have the right to do that. And yet we also have the right to request that our information be taken off of those lists. The problem is,
I understand the last line of their slogan is not good, but people like Norman Finkelstein explain why, even though we should not agree with it. Shouldn't be surprised they have it. Yeah. I have never said that the Houthi slogan is good, nor do I care particularly about their way of conduct or their domestic affairs. It is almost identical to my perspective on the Iranian government. I am not a fan of the Iranian government's domestic affairs at all. Yeah, he did say data brokers have a right to sell your data. He did say that.
There's a lot of these lists, and they don't make it easy for you to take your name off.
Also, a lot of people keep asking me about this fucking Houthi teenager. Didn't you interview a Houthi teenager? He was not a Houthi. Okay, I asked him. He said he was not.
And that is why Incogni exists. You sign up for Incogni and you give them permission to act on your behalf, to go request that your information be taken off of these lists. And it's not like there's like 5 lists. There are, in my case, Incogni found like hundreds of lists that my name is on. Incogni shows you the lists that they found your information on, and then they start the process of taking your information off. And you get to watch while they do all the work. Month after month, Incogni.
It is pretty wild because like everybody fucking ran with that, him being a Houthi. Which, by the way, I maintain the position that I should be allowed to interview a Houthi if I want to as well. Suck my dick. It's because you talked about One Piece with him? Yeah, I did. I was trying to get him to open up. You might not agree with my methods, but I don't give a shit. I'm going to humanize these people, okay? I don't care. You can get mad at the fact that I'm trying to humanize the Yemeni population. I don't care. That's precisely the reason why so many of these motherfuckers literally didn't even care about the contents of the interview, care about the fact that like BBC and many others actually also conducted the exact same interview, care about the reality that New York Times and many other outlets literally reached out to me to try to get connected with the kid. But yes, I am going to humanize a victim a survivor of genocide. That's number one. Number two, Did they ask what his favorite anime was? Yeah, they did. And he was like, I don't know about One Piece, so they arrested him. And what a lot of people fail to recognize is that throughout that interview, obviously I didn't fucking debate him, right? But I asked him a couple questions specifically, pointed questions, like, how do you feel about anti-Zionist Jews? Are you shocked to find out about the reality that there are many Jews in America who are leading some of these anti-Israel protests? The reason why I asked that question to him was specifically because I wanted to see what his opinion was on the matter. Of course, nobody made mentions of that. They personally only were too predisposed with, oh, he's a Jew hater himself. He hates Jews, and that he is he's a terrorist. He's a terrorist. What'd they arrest him for? I mean, I'm pretty sure he's out of jail, but I don't know why he got arrested.
He is working for me to keep my privacy and my data safe, which is a really good feeling. So that's Incogni. I'm really glad they exist. I'm really glad they've come to sponsor a video because I started using their service and I am very happy with it.
They also then ironically claimed he was media trained and like lying. Fucking 19-year-old survivor of genocide. Again, is it classic white supremacist bullshit?
The story I want to tell starts in the 90s, when one group forms up in the northern mountains of Yemen. It started by a group of religious Yemenis who call themselves the Believing Youth, who were members of a Shiite Muslim sect called the Zaidi. Zaidi Muslims used to be the majority when the country was split in two, but in the new unified Yemen, they became a minority and felt neglected and discriminated against. At first, the group focuses on rebuilding the Zaidi religious identity, hosting summer camps for young men and offering religious education. But in the late 1990s, the group starts to change in important ways. A member of Yemen's parliament resigns in protest and joins the Believing Youth. He felt that the government of Yemen was corrupt and far too influenced by Yemen's neighbor to the north, Saudi Arabia. Al-Houthi blamed outside influence for many of the country's problems. So as he leaves the government, Al-Houthi uses his wealth and family connections in the Zaidi community to become the leader of the Believing Youth. He wants an Islamic revolution, modeled after the one in Iran, one that kicks out any foreign influence and restores Islamic values. With Al-Houthi's influence, this group of young men in the mountainous region of Yemen starts to change. They begin protesting Yemen's president, Ali Abdullah Saleh. Soon they start taking up weapons, taking over territory, and eventually setting up their own security checkpoints in their region. The Believing Youth are starting to look a lot less like a summer camp and a lot more like a militia, like a rebellion. President Saleh, who had previously supported the Believing Youth, is starting to get worried. And then in 2001, the entire Middle East would change forever. After 9/11, the US launches a war on terror. They ask President Saleh for help, and he cooperates, taking military aid and allowing American special forces to operate inside Yemen, where the terrorist group Al-Qaeda has a presence. 18 months later, the US presence in the region would balloon even more when the American military invades and occupies Iraq. For Al-Houthi and his group...
I just want to point out something here. Al-Qaeda still has a presence in Yemen. Al-Qaeda still has a presence in Yemen. And they are using American weapons, or did still have... I don't know what Al-Qaeda looks like in Yemen now. But up until like 2016, 2017, 2018, Al-Qaeda literally operating just like they used to at the behest of the Saudi government was straight up participating in the fucking genocide of the Yemen population being directed by Saudi Arabia. How'd they get the American weapons, chat? One must ask themselves how they got those American weapons. It wasn't a fucking accident. They were working with the Saudi government. Much to consider here.
of young men, this crosses a red line and deeply radicalizes the movement. Al-Houthi criticizes the president publicly for pandering to what he sees as American imperialism in Muslim lands. And many in Yemen agree, joining the movement and bolstering their numbers. Al-Houthi adopts the violent slogan that sits on the flag of his movement to this day: God is great, death to America, death to Israel, curse on the Jews, victory to Islam. President Saleh feels threatened by the growth of this increasingly radical movement that is taking control of territory in the north. He issues an arrest warrant and a bounty for Al-Houthi and brutally cracks down on their protests. In response, the believing youth launch an armed rebellion in the north of Yemen, leading to counterattacks by the Yemeni military. Shortly after the fighting begins, Al-Houthi is...
I'm not gonna lie. Johnny Harris videos are kind of a banger when you think about it. Because, like, if you've already made up your mind about American imperialism being bad or the war on terror being bad, things that he and his audience take for granted as, like, you know, kind of problematic, but ultimately in the right direction, then yeah, it's like, he's not wrong. He's literally like, yeah, the Houthis believed that the Saleh government was working alongside American imperialists. And it's like, yeah, no, it's not wrong. It is correct.
Killed in a cave in the north. The rebels he leaves behind fight on with new conviction, and the world would know them by the name of their martyr, a symbol of imperial resistance that would soon be firing rockets at Israel and hijacking cargo ships in the Red Sea. This Yemen story is about to get really fascinating. I'm going to pause for a second because I need to thank the sponsor of today's video. The sponsors are how we're able to do our journalism here on YouTube, so thank you Incogni for sponsoring today's video. I've been using Incogni for about 18 months now, and it has really changed my digital life. Most of us don't know that our information, our name, our date of birth, our address, our browser history is a commodity. It is bought and sold.
I'm doing ethical
on
react.
A data market where data brokers make a lot of money selling our information to corporations or insurance companies that want to profit off of us. They have the right to do that. And yet we also have the right to request that our information be taken off of those lists. The problem is,
I understand the last line of their slogan is not good, but people like Norman Finkelstein explain why, even though we should not agree with it. Shouldn't be surprised they have it. Yeah. I have never said that the Houthi slogan is good, nor do I care particularly about their way of conduct or their domestic affairs. It is almost identical to my perspective on the Iranian government. I am not a fan of the Iranian government's domestic affairs at all. Yeah, he did say data brokers have a right to sell your data. He did say that.
there's a lot of these lists, and they don't make it easy for you to take your name off.
Also, a lot of people keep asking me about this fucking Houthi teenager. Didn't you interview a Houthi teenager? He was not a Houthi. Okay, I asked him. He said he was not.
And that is why Incogni exists. You sign up for Incogni and you give them permission to act on your behalf, to go request that your information be taken off of these lists. And it's not like there's like 5 lists. There are, in my case, Incogni found like hundreds of lists that my name is on. Incogni shows you the lists that they found your information on, and then they start the process of taking your information off. And you get to watch while they do all the work. Month after month, Incogni.
It is pretty wild because like everybody fucking ran with that, him being a Houthi. Which, by the way, I maintain the position that I should be allowed to interview a Houthi if I want to as well. Suck my dick. But also, not only was he not a Houthi, he got arrested. It's because you talked about One Piece with him? Yeah, I did. I was trying to get him to open up. You might not agree with my methods, but I don't give a shit. I'm going to humanize these people, okay? I don't care. You can get mad at the fact that I'm trying to humanize the Yemeni population. I don't care. That's precisely the reason why so many of these motherfuckers literally didn't even care about the contents of the interview, care about the fact that like BBC and many others actually also conducted the exact same interview, care about the reality that New York Times and many other outlets literally reached out to me to try to get connected with the kid. But yes, I am going to humanize a victim of a survivor of genocide. That's number one. Number two, did they ask what his favorite anime was? Yeah, they did. And he was like, I don't know about One Piece, so they arrested him. And what a lot of people fail to recognize is that throughout that interview, obviously I didn't fucking debate him, right? But I asked him a couple questions specifically, pointed questions, like, how do you feel about anti-Zionist Jews? Are you shocked to find out about the reality that there are many Jews in America who are leading some of these anti-Israel protests? The reason why I asked that question to him was specifically because I wanted to see what his opinion was on the matter. Of course, nobody made mentions of that. They personally only were too predisposed with, oh, he's a Jew hater himself. He hates Jews. He hates Jews, and that he is he's a terrorist. He's a terrorist. He's a terrorist. Okay. What'd they arrest him for? I mean, I'm pretty sure he's out of jail, but I don't know why he got arrested.
He is working for me to keep my privacy and my data safe, which is a really good feeling. So that's Incogni. I'm really glad they exist. I'm really glad they've come to sponsor a video because I started using their service and I am very happy with it.
They also then ironically claimed he was media trained and like lying. This fucking 19-year-old survivor of genocide. Again, is it classic white supremacist bullshit? By the way, they still bring that shit up every goddamn day. What? They community noted you? Oh, hell yeah. On most major issues that will likely be discussed in the debate, there are significant policy differences between Trump and Biden, including abortion access, tax policy, education, healthcare policy, and more. I mean, their community note is literally my second point. Look, maybe we should ask them what anime they watch. See, they always still make that snide remark. How dare you ask a victim, a survivor of genocide, questions that will make him realize that I'm not trying to fucking attack him and humanize him to the American audience. How dare I do that? Well, that's what I got for you. You can suck my cock. That media training thing is just something that the horsefucker V made up. Yeah. Yeah. Also, the Houthis, on the other hand, simultaneously have like curse the Jews on their fucking slogan, but they're also simultaneously doing media training to be like, yeah, anti-Zionist Jews. Wow, that's cool. I like that. Why wouldn't he just say, I hate the Jews? I think I have more hatred in my heart for 35-month losers in my community that literally go, you were just community noted. Who cares, man? It is the dumbest fucking thing to give a shit about. You're that fucking Twitter obsessed. You are literally just as Reddit as like Divorce Ellie's fan base is. Just letting you know. The community you made, smile. Yeah, well, yo, when are you going to start watching MasterChef again so you can know what you're talking about? Terrorist, genocide. Genocide? In sarcasm? You think it's the Saudi and UAE caused genocide in Yemen is genocide? What happens to Israel dick riders? Do they just like automatically, like there's something really fascinating that happens to people who love Israel that literally just say like, there are no genocides. What is it? Is it just the Holocaust? No other genocide has ever happened on the planet? Is that what you're saying? Like, what the fuck is going on here? What is this argument, dude? Yeah, no, it is literally a genocide. And that's not just my assessment either. That's like, you know, every international group has agreed that it was a genocide. This is the whole point. This is the issue. This is the issue with people that just like have like a reactionary position and get negatively polarized against me. They end up fucking taking like unhinged positions. I would much rather have the community that I've cultivated than dumb fucks like you in this community. I'm gonna be honest with you. Dumb fucks that literally hear me say something is a genocide and immediately automatically go, genocide, lol. Like, you just didn't even hear what I said. You just automatically went, oh, Hasan thinks something is a genocide, so it probably isn't. Yeah. My community is fucking awesome. We don't deny genocide, dipshit. Suck my dick. 2019 follower. I know exactly what pedophilic debate pedophile community it comes from.
So there's a link in my description. It is incogni.com/Johnny Harris. Click the link. It helps support the channel.
Go fucking debate. Go debate the ethics of CP and how age of consent should be lowered. And, you know, actually it's a phebophilia, not pedophilia. Come on.
Johnny.
Go back to your fucking community.
Harris, and you will get 60% off the yearly plan of Incogni. Use that code so they know it came from this ad read. That is very helpful to me. So yeah, you can try it out, get a big discount, and see if Incogni helps protect your privacy while also reducing the amount of junk mail and robocalls that you get. Thank you, Incogni, for sponsoring today's video. With that, let's dive back into Yemen. By 2004, the Houthis have morphed into a full-blown rebellion, fighting against Yemen's government from their northern strongholds. They know this land well, and they have local support, allowing them to fight a guerrilla campaign against the government forces, blending in with civilians, hiding in mountains and caves, and allowing them to resist the much better equipped Yemeni army. As the conflict turns more violent, more tribes in the region would feel that the military is being overly brutal, leading them to join the Houthis. And it's at this time that the conflict goes international. The Houthis say that Saudi Arabia is letting the government of Yemen position troops right across this border. So they invade into Saudi Arabia, killing Saudi soldiers and taking hostages. This pulls Saudi Arabia into the conflict as they respond with airstrikes and troops and push the Houthis.
That just pulled them in, dude. It was crazy. It was crazy. They definitely weren't doing the thing that they were correct on. Again. Come on, dude. Israel style. Yeah, Israel style. They were just defending themselves.
He's out of their territory, punishing them for this invasion. Now, over here, Iran is watching this war, and they see an opportunity. The Houthis are now fighting directly against their biggest rival, Saudi Arabia. So they start secretly sending weapons to the Houthis. At least that's what Saudi Arabia claims, saying that they intercepted an Iranian ship filled with weapons and military trainers on their way to the Houthis. It looks like Iran is directly supporting the Houthis now, though how much support they provide behind the scenes will always be intentionally unclear. As the conflict between the Houthis and the government continues in the north, Saudi Arabia has been fighting their own war on terror against a branch of al-Qaeda operating in Saudi Arabia. Seeing that their days are numbered, this branch of al-Qaeda flees south over the border into Yemen, where they merge their forces with the Yemen branch of al-Qaeda. They create al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, or AQAP, one of the most dangerous and well-funded versions of the group to ever exist. The group's goal is to create a strict Islamic state across the whole region, while violently waging holy war against foreigners in Muslim lands. This puts them at odds with both the Yemen.
The Saudis hate al-Qaeda as much as Israel hates al-Nusra, okay?
Government and the Houthis. The conflict is getting more complicated. Around 2011, the region starts to change in big ways. In one country after another, there's an outpouring of public anger on the streets, demanding change from their government, removing old leaders. This is called the Arab Spring. It's upheaval that spirals the region into hope and chaos. Iran and Saudi Arabia see this as an opportunity to strategically choose sides in all of these countries in hopes that when the dust settles, they will come out with a stronger hand of allies in the region. And one of their main focuses is Yemen, a country that is also rising up, calling for President Saleh to step down. The corrupt dictator of Yemen is running out of time, which is something the Houthis have been fighting for years. But Saleh refuses to step down, adding fuel to the uprising. Saudi Arabia sees this situation at their southern border and decides to step in with the help of the UN, convincing Saleh to transfer power to his vice president in exchange for immunity from prosecution. On his way out, Saleh takes the billions of dollars that he corruptly amassed during his time in office, and he also retains the loyalty of key parts of the military, fighters that are only loyal to him. But the people aren't satisfied with this new Saudi-backed president. The government remains weak and unorganized. Meanwhile, the Houthis are taking advantage of this infighting and only getting stronger, taking more and more territory from the government, adding to their forces and receiving more support from their backer Iran, who is supplying them with more training, missiles, drones, and other advanced weapons. They used these weapons in the fall of 2014 to march into southern Yemen, taking over large swaths of territory. Now that the Houthis have momentum, the former president...
That's crazy, and it wasn't even us this time, bro. Fuck you mean it wasn't even us? Bro, he's literally talking about direct Saudi involvement. Of course it was us. What do you think Saudi Arabia is? Who is Saudi Arabia? What kind of weapons do you think they're manufacturing in Saudi Arabia? What kind of targeting systems does the domestic Saudi weapons manufacturing industry have, you think? No, that's us, man. We did that.
Saleh joins them in an alliance of convenience. In fact, Saleh's forces are critical in helping the Houthis take the capital city of Sana'a. Saleh is now working with his former enemy.
The reason why he now mentions Saleh is corrupt is because of this, by the way. A chatter was like, oh, now he mentions that President Saleh is corrupt. It's because of this. He was trying to get you to understand. He's bad now. He didn't mention it when the Houthis were resisting against him. He only mentioned it when he's aligned with the Houthis for a brief moment.
Against his own vice president, the man he had to give power to when he stepped down. President Hadi and his government flee south as the Houthis take over, but the Houthis are right behind them. So Hadi has to flee to Saudi Arabia, trying to govern Yemen from there. But the Houthis just keep gaining momentum. By the middle of 2015, they now control the capital city completely, where they create their own government and take control of the government's military weapons, helping them expand even further into the south. Now that the Houthis are in power, they run an oppressive regime that silences free speech, crushes dissent through arrest and torture, and recruits children.
I don't get it. It seems like they're doing free speech.
To the south. Now that the Houthis are in power, they run an oppressive regime that silences free speech, crushes dissent through arrest.
That's free speech, brother. What are you talking about? Being able to burn the American flag is American-style free speech, too. Yeah. Under Saleh, Yemen was a thriving liberal democracy, but he is also partially corrupt and brutal. I will only mention that he's corrupt when I'm about to say that he aligned with the Houthis for a brief moment. Also, the shining beacon of liberal democracy that Yemen was changed dramatically when the Houthis came into power, and not that they basically maintained the same business as usual in the midst of a fucking civil war. Kind of odd that these guys are random people, and yet they are able to galvanize massive chunks of the population. I don't know how. Agree with him or not. It's just odd that he keeps saying that, like, this is a, you know, this is a fucking militia group backed by Iran, nothing to do with Yemen, kind of, but also simultaneously very popular, seemingly.
And torture, and recruits children as soldiers, all while imposing strict religious laws that undermine women's rights. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia is getting nervous. Their southern neighbor is now controlled by a group that is funded by their biggest enemy. So,
I mean, they strip women of individual freedom and rights? Bro, what are you talking about? Listen to me. Number one. This is the same exact fucking Saudi propaganda that's hilarious. Yes, brother. Both in Saudi Arabia and in Yemen, women's civil liberties wasn't great. Okay? Before and after the Houthis. What are you talking about? This does not mean it's good. But remember how you only fucking bring that up for one side of the argument? When the other side is the genocidal force that has the exact same domestic policies, worse domestic policies. Yeah, when you say it like that, you make it seem like they have fucking pride rallies before the Houthis came, you know? Saudi girls on my college course in 2014 had never driven a car because it's illegal. Yeah, they also probably came to the United States of America with a male member of the family because they are because they can't travel on their own usually to the United States of America. I mean, it's cool that the government literally pays for your male family member as well for you to go to school in America, but like also not great that, you know, that's a thing. That law was removed. Oh, it is? Back when I went to college, it wasn't. It was definitely still in place. To be fair, Qatari dancer, I went to college in 2009. I am old. It might have been a part of MBS's charm offensive where he did some reformation. Not a lot. Some. Like saying women are allowed to fucking drive cars and shit. Not sure what your point is. Saudis and Houthis are both shit for the people. Brother, you are in the United motherfucking States of America. What the fuck are you talking about? Our involvement in both of these countries have been objectively bad for both of these fucking countries. On the Saudi front, our maintenance of the monarchy and its fucking grip on power has created an environment where no real change will ever occur. On the Yemen front, we funded and facilitated the same exact type of fucking regressive thinkers, I guess, if you want to think about their fucking domestic policy, in funding and facilitating a genocidal campaign in Yemen. When we talk about these issues, people love bringing up like the domestic affairs of Yemen to be like, to just never really focus on what we're actually saying. What we're actually saying in this conversation is like, well, we have to intervene because Yemen is brutal and repressive in its regime. And it's like, dude, what are you saying? The people interfering are also brutal and oppressive in the exact same fucking way. And they're doing a genocide on top of that. Yes, you got the fascism from the West and Islamism from Iran. Yes, one must ask themselves how Islamism came to Iran to begin with in the degree that it came to Iran. What kind of foreign involvement, I wonder, happened in Iran that led to the Iranian Revolution. This is Americans refusing to learn the lessons from past involvement and then literally using the negative consequences of past involvement and intervention to be like, we have to do more of that. It is the most American idea, okay, to go, you know what the problem is? We have a lot of gun violence in this country, okay? Mass shootings are happening daily, right? We also have more guns in circulation than we have people in this country. What's the solution to this problem? More guns. Arm the teachers. Hello? It's the most American concept. Americans love looking at a problem that they fucking caused and then being like, you know what? We'll fix this problem. More of the same problem. It's so dumb. I don't know. I don't know what else to say beyond it. Yeah, traffic in LA, more lanes. But without local support, then the revolution could not have been taken over. Wait, what? Brother, I don't think you understand what the words that are coming out of my mouth. The local support for Islamist movements, fundamentalist movements, literally gain more momentum when they are launched against Western imperialism. It goes back to my argument. Okay? That is how people go, you know what? I'm not the biggest fan of the fucking fundies, but it turns out they're not wrong. It turns out maybe they're right about the fucking Shah. That's it. It is kind of funny calling the Iranian government fundies. Because it is. They are fundamentalists, but it's just funny to call anything but Christian fundamentalist fundies.
They recruit the support of countries around the region and invade Yemen with the goal of removing the Houthis from power.
Is permission from a male guardian? They don't have to join them on the trip. Not better just saying, oh.
The war is led by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia's up-and-coming leader and defense minister. He starts with a widespread bombing campaign and a naval blockade that prevents shipping in and out of the country, with the goal of trying to cut off support coming in from Iran. The Crown Prince turns to the United States in need of more weapons for this war. While the US leaders are reluctant to get involved in another Middle East conflict, they also want to maintain a good relationship with Saudi Arabia, who is their major security and energy partner in the region. They also have an interest in weakening al-Qaeda's growing presence in Yemen. So in addition to supporting this war with logistics and intelligence, President Obama approves billions of dollars of weapons, planes, tanks, and even weapons banned by most of the world for how dangerous they are for civilians, like cluster munitions.
Reluctantly.
This quickly turns Saudi Arabia into the largest importer of American weapons for the next...
Guys, you don't understand. Obama did it reluctantly. Obama reluctantly did a genocide in Yemen. Reluctantly. Just like Joe Biden is reluctantly doing a genocide in Gaza. Reluctantly. By the way, once again, American foreign policy is bipartisan, as I've said time and time again, because reluctantly, Donald Trump also funded and facilitated and continued the genocide in Yemen. This is the genocide I was talking about, by the way. That chatter was like, genocide. Reluctantly. Hey, good thing this wasn't us, though. Yeah, exactly.
4 years. So it's 2015, and Yemen is in a full-blown war between the Houthis and Saudi Arabia and their coalition. This is when
Trump definitely didn't do so reluctantly. Guys, there is no difference between Obama aesthetically claiming that he's doing it reluctantly while still doing it versus Trump saying, no, who's going to buy the weapons? Are you going to buy $10 billion worth of weapons? Guess what, dude? They both have the same exact energy on the issue. One is just pussyfooting around it. That's why at the time I literally openly, I wouldn't say praise, but openly fucking said, hey, at least he's honest. He's a giant piece of shit, a genocidal warmonger, but he's fucking honest. Go back and find it. Go back and find my coverage after Jamal Khashoggi was chopped in a Istanbul Saudi embassy. There's no difference between aesthetically posturing as though you are against the genocide and the genocidal ambitions versus openly stating why you're doing it because they're buying $10 billion worth of weapons. The consulate, the Saudi consulate in Istanbul.
Al-Qaeda, who's not on either side, takes advantage of this chaos and makes a land grab in the middle of Yemen. They take major cities and clash with government forces. Also taking advantage of the instability is the terrorist group ISIS, who come to Yemen and fight the Houthis and Al-Qaeda at the same time, though their attacks are scattered and they don't control significant territory. The US then gets more involved by launching airstrikes at Al-Qaeda and ISIS targets to stop them from gaining any more territory. They try to kill their leadership, but the US has to do this carefully because they don't want to engage the Houthis. Their fight is with Al-Qaeda and ISIS. In May of 2015, the Houthis...
That's so strange that the Saudi government was bombing the Houthis and fighting against the Houthis. And it's so weird that so was ISIS and Al-Qaeda. What? What's that about? In the same time frame, al-Nusra, which is like the Syrian version, was also getting help from the Israeli government. That's very strange. How peculiar. I just don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what I don't know what it's about. Link to your comment on him being honest.
Well, against everybody, including Russia. And
it's so funny. He's just like the conversation is so easy to have when a politician is honest with it about their dishonesty, right? And that was the brilliant part about Donald Trump. He's just straight up saying it. He's like, what are you, stupid? Do you not understand? Like, no, we're selling the weapons, dumbass, because they give us money for those weapons, dumbass. And low gas prices. What do you want to fucking increase gas prices and also on top of that fucking allow someone else to sell the weapons to Saudi Arabia? No, we're gonna fucking sell it, stupid. Like, he's like shocked that members of the media who clearly know this, by the way, like there's no way people are that stupid that they don't fucking recognize that like this is the real reason why this is the real reason why like liberals are also not fucking punishing MBS. That's it. That's the reason. And he's saying it. And again, he's being honest about it, and Joe Biden is being dishonest about it. That's the reality. Sorry. That doesn't mean he is. Damn, bro. Damn, that's crazy. Who's this guy? Benefit of foresight, dude? What the fuck? He's saying that in 2021, March 3rd, 2021. How's this guy cooking so hard? That's a whole ass 3 years ago. Fuck's that about? How'd that happen? Huh. That's weird. I'm saying Joe Biden's being dishonest about it. How did I know? How did I know? What? How did I predict how Joe Biden would react against Yemen later down the line? How? A good person. He is a fucking monster. The things he's saying are monstrous. But that's precisely why I get frustrated with the Joe Biden administration, because if you think that this is monstrous, then you have to recognize that what Joe Biden is doing is also monstrous.
And I'm going to keep it that way. And I'm not going to tell a country that's spending hundreds of billions of dollars and has helped me do one thing very importantly, keep oil prices down so that they're not going to $100 and $150 a barrel. Right now, we have oil prices in great shape.
Chatters back then also demanding gaming. Chatters back then also demanding, okay, buddy, 2 hours into the fucking broadcast. That's awesome.
Houthis attack a city just across the border in Saudi Arabia, killing 2 and taking hostages, forcing an airport to shut down. The Crown Prince doesn't take being attacked on his own soil lightly, especially by Iran's proxies. So over the next 24 hours, the Saudis launch 130 airstrikes in Yemen, hitting homes, schools, and hospitals. Thousands are forced to flee from their home. Hundreds are reported dead, though we'll never...
Bro, this is literally... Yo. Johnny's literally doing like Israel style propaganda, but this time for Saudi Arabia, which I think is cool. Like, at least it's a unique perspective. It's refreshing to hear it. He's defeating the Islamophobia allegations pretty aggressively, in my opinion. You could verbatim repeat exactly the same things he said without changing much of the words. Like, substitute Houthi for Hamas, not even change all that many letters, and substitute Saudi for Israel. Keep Iran the same in the equation, and you literally have 1-to-1 why Israel must do ethnic cleansing in Gaza. Straight up. But yeah, once again, I want to cherish Johnny Boy here. My man is so pro-Islam. He's pro-Saudi government. I respect it. It's cool. What is it? The fuck? Uh-oh. Fix it. The fuck? Uh-oh. Fix it. Was my picture more clear back then? No.
Never know the real death toll. These strikes are almost immediately called war crimes, but the Crown Prince doesn't back down. His coalition then sends in ground troops from the south, pushing back the Houthis and taking back the city of Aden. He's behaving as if he's fighting his greatest enemy, Iran. It's a vicious cycle that is common in proxy wars like this, and it lands the people of Yemen in the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. The international community tries to intervene with diplomatic efforts to stop the fighting, but over the next 6 years, those efforts would fail, and Saudi Arabia would continue its brutal campaign, all using American weapons. The Houthis continue to fight to show that they are...
The international community was like, oh, please stop it. Also, here's billions of dollars of weapons. But please stop it. Guys, we can't stop it. We can't. We want to stop it. We just simply can't. Guys, our fucking hands are tied. This is why you must understand why we offer unconditional support to Israel. Because we offered unconditional support to Saudi Arabia. Okay? This is why I laugh when motherfuckers say, Hasan, don't you think that Jews control American politics? It's like, yeah, dude, so does Islam, I guess. Hasan, don't you think that Islam controls American politics? After all, Saudi Arabia's genocidal campaign was not put an end to under identical terms until a power player came to actually play power. China. China stopped this shit. Not America. Don't forget that. Yeah. Perhaps it is not Islamo-Judaism that controls the media or America, and simply American foreign interests, American State Department, American capitalism, American imperialism. I don't know. Or maybe it's actually Islamo-Judaism. Now, to be fair, the American government also not Islamophobic. Look at, after all, they did the same level of care and consideration for Saudi Arabia's ethnic cleansing operations as they are giving the same care and consideration to Israel. Just saying. Of course, the victims are always Muslim, whether it is ISIS, the Saudi government, or Israel conducting its operations. It's always the Muslims that are getting fucking ethnically cleansed and displaced by the millions. Fuck it, even the Turkish government in the northern Syrian corridor. It's always the Muslims.
They are legitimate, that they are the government of Yemen. They aren't just doing Iran's bidding. The war continues to destroy cities and land, and the blockade continues to keep trade out. The Saudis continue to bomb indiscriminately, and with time, 2 million Yemenis are displaced.
Like, Saudi Arabia literally did Israel shit in Yemen for years. There were people who criticized it, myself included. Dude, it is like clockwork. It only, people who are 30-month subscribers are the only people who say this. I'm beginning to recognize a pattern here. Brother, who cares? Brother, who cares, brother? Have you guys noticed what I'm noticing as well? There was another one that I didn't actually point out. It's almost always 30-month plus subscribers that fucking immediately go, dude, I can't believe you got community noted. Yeah, dude, they're fucking Nazis, man. It's the Nazi website. Who cares?
Forced to leave their homes to flee this violence.
150,000 civilians have had no.
But this doesn't stop the Houthis from escalating their offensive. They start attacking Saudi Arabia directly with missiles and drones in their capital city and their civilian airports, using weapons.
They went nutty mode. Bro, they fucking, well, I don't know if they blew up the oil refinery during Formula One, or maybe if, I don't know, it might have come from this side. I'm pointing my mouse on this direction. Who's to say? But it was pretty crazy. That's part of the reason why the Saudis then recognized maybe we shouldn't fuck with the Houthis. Maybe we shouldn't fuck with the Yemen population no more. You're crazy if you believe this stuff? Wait, what? What do you think is happening? Dude, that's awesome. It's like, chatters are like, dude, nothing happened in Yemen. You're crazy if you believe this shit, dude. Your first reaction to being community noted was that of excitement. Then you flip hard for whatever reason. Yeah, because at first it was funny, but it's like annoying when so many chatters care about it and they're like, oh my God, you got community noted. It's a fucking Nazi website filled to the goddamn brim of Nazis. And the fact that people keep repeating it over and over again is fucking annoying. Yeah, to be honest, I usually agree with you on stuff, but I don't know if I can stomach it. The top of the hour ad break is something you have to stomach, okay? Yeah, exactly. Poopy pee-pee man. Yeah, get fucked. Get fucked. Get fucked. I'm half Saudi, and even I don't defend this shit. Chatter has brainworms. Yeah, Chatter's like... Chatters are like, no, you don't understand, bro. Saudi Arabia fucking... If they're America's ally, we're on board. Anyway, pee-pee poo-poo chatter failed, but it doesn't matter. Although he had to eat the riposte. Ultimately, one thing is unchanging, that there is a 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. For $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. The scale of the Houthi oil refinery attack was kind of amazing. Well, we don't know if it was actually the Houthis. We don't know. We don't know who did it. The Houthis did take credit for it. that was genuinely a change of pace in the conflict in general, where Saudi Arabia was like, oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Turns out this is costly. This is hella costly for us. Maybe the Houthis were doing it because they were pro green energy. We will never know. Yeah, they read how to blow up a pipeline.
Weapons that most believe are coming from Iran. In December of 2017, the Saudis and the UAE convinced President Saleh to break his alliance with the Houthis and return to power as president of Yemen. They hoped that Saleh, the former dictator, might be able to hold on to power and rule more effectively. Saleh takes the deal and changes sides yet again, breaking with the Houthis and joining the Saudi-led coalition.
Now he's no longer a corrupt dictator. We've decided now he's a, you know, a kind individual who is good, actually.
Fighting breaks out between the Houthis and Saleh's militias, and Saleh is killed just 2 days later. Meanwhile, in the United States, there's a new president. President Trump orders increased drone strikes and...
Some ultra-leftists told me it's Ansar Allah instead of Houthis because it is Ansar Allah. Ansar Allah is like the new coalition that is comprised of both Houthis and other factions as well.
Raids against Al-Qaeda,
so that ultra-leftist
helping
is
government
correct.
forces take back large amounts of territory. Despite the war crimes committed using American weapons, Trump approves more weapons sales to Saudi Arabia to wage this war. And then,
wait, what? Was he not reluctant?
Then in 2018, the conflict takes on a new dimension. The UAE, who's a part of this Saudi-led coalition, is starting to lose faith in the direction this war is going. They don't like the current government of Yemen, and they're losing soldiers on the ground. It's damaging their reputation on the world stage. So the UAE leaves the coalition, but they still want to influence who will ultimately control Yemen. So they start backing a new group in the south called the Southern Transitional Council, or STC. This group isn't aligned with the government or the Houthis. They're calling for a separation of the southern part of Yemen. They want their own state. They want their own country. So the UAE starts to withdraw their troops from the south of the country, and the STC separatists start taking control of southern provinces. The Saudi coalition is fracturing, and yet another group is jumping into the fighting, showing just how up for grabs Yemen has become. By the fall of 2019, the war has reached maximum complexity. You've got the Saudi coalition backing...
Complex, bro. American-backed coalition forces did a genocide in Yemen against the popular uprising comprised of both the Houthis and many other groups against the corrupt dictatorship. These groups, in their domestic affairs, aren't exactly woke either. They were, however, definitely anti-imperialist. These groups also got funding and facilitation from Iran as a consequence of the coalitions that were attacking Yemen. Who were the coalitions that were attacking Yemen? Well, the Saudi government, American imperialism's very own brown face in the region, UAE as well. It is not that complex. It is yet another instance where we are talking about the genocidal ambitions of America and their allies in a very important part of the fucking country, a very important part of the planet for international trade. That's it. It's not complex. Hey, man, I'm trans and I think I decided to vote for Trump. Shut up. You do this every fucking day, dude. You do this every day. Shut the fuck up. We know you're not actually trans and we know you're not. Actually, you might actually be a Trump voter. You do this literally every fucking day. Stormy Echoes, you literally come into the chat every goddamn day to fucking troll. Okay? Every day. I haven't banned you. I should. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. Just shut the fuck up. Just take a day off. Okay. Every fucking day. Chatters know your name. Why is chat laughing? Wait, what do you mean? Why is chat laughing? We're laughing because we see Stormy Echoes every day try to do new fucking baits. While we are Yemen maxing at the top of the hour. Wait, we'll do that later. I got accused of being a spy in a Palestinian protest. Wait, what?
Government of Yemen, mostly relegated to the east of the country, the UAE is now backing this separatist movement in the south, who are fighting against the former government of Yemen. The Houthis, backed by Iran, still maintain majority control of the major cities in the north. Al-Qaeda and its militia allies are still fighting to control small slices of the country, and the US continues to conduct airstrikes against Al-Qaeda and ISIS, while supporting and selling more weapons to the Saudi coalition. Yemen is fracturing further, and if there's any hope for peace, power needs to be consolidated. So Saudi Arabia and the UAE make amends, and then together they convince the government of Yemen and the separatists in the south to form a new coalition.
I just don't understand. I don't understand. Only one of these groups is not an internationally sanctioned and you know, well, I guess I was going to say it's not an internationally sanctioned terrorist organization, but they do consider the Houthis to be terrorists, or at least Trump did. Joe Biden took them off the list and then said he's going to put it back on. But only one group is comprised primarily of the Yemen population and is led by the Yemen population, which is the Houthis. The other guys are fucking assholes who are aligned with foreign with foreign nations in the region. I don't understand it.
To fight against the Houthis together as a united front. But it doesn't stop the Houthis, who are getting really good at fighting and are firing more Iranian missiles and drones.
It's weird how you present Iran's actions as are anti-imperialist when they're doing similar moves to Erdogan with funding Islamic Brotherhood in the region. Yeah, Iran's actions are anti-imperialist. It's just the reality. They're the ones who are literally fucking funding and offering logistics and trading to popular uprisings against imperialist forces. So yes, what they are doing is anti-imperialist. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day, even if you don't fucking agree with them or not. And I don't know if you are actually a Saudi chatter or not, considering that you always bring up the fact that, why don't you mention the history of the region's Western resistance? Saudi Arabian king was assassinated when he made OPEC with Iran to cut oil to the West, pressure against weapon shipments to Israel, then Iran regime change, and Egyptian socialist anti-imperialist presidents. Focusing on Iran makes it seem like Iran now doesn't have imperialist actions in the region like everyone else, and after resisting the West was made impossible. The reason why I talk about Iranian action in like both Yemen and Iranian action in Gaza or in the Palestinian plight is that because they are the only game in fucking town when it comes to genuinely resisting against American imperialism and its influence and its most violent actions. Osama bin Laden is an anti-imperialist? Yeah, definitely. That's why he was he's such an anti-imperialist. That's why he was armed and trained by both the Saudi kingdom and also by America. You know, a rabid anti-communist. Ultimately, Iran doesn't have to imagine a world where American involvement exists in their country. They lived in it. And if they want to be reminded of how shitty things can be, they could just look to every other fucking regional actor. Same with Cuba and American involvement in Latin American countries.
Into Saudi Arabia, hitting state-owned oil refineries and threatening to drive up oil prices globally. By January 2021, the Houthis, a group started to provide religious summer camps to young men, are now battle-hardened, and they control 70 to 80% of Yemen. Later that year, the UN announces that approximately 20 million of those people are dependent on humanitarian aid for their daily needs. And at this point, the war starts to settle in to an uncomfortable stalemate. In April 2022, the UN brokers a ceasefire, and the fighting stops.
At worst, you might say that Iran is aggressively expanding its sphere of influence. You can't even call them irredentists because they never try to claim any more territory. Yeah. Iran is a regional actor with its sole purposes as foreign policy, trying to end American involvement and interference. Iran's foreign policy beyond that, or Iran's interest beyond that, certainly could be the implementation of like a Shia-style control similar to Iran in other countries where Shias do exist. But that is not the point. That's neither here nor there. That is insignificant in the grand scheme of things. You don't believe that yourself? What do you mean? Everyone knows that Americans got rights in America when that one foreign superpower came in and blew the place up. Yeah. The irony, of course, is that Iran would be in a dramatically different place if America did not interfere in Iranian politics during the Mossadegh era, because British Petroleum thought it was completely unacceptable that their refineries were seized by the Iranian government after Iran decided to nationalize its oil production. If you don't want Iran to gain more prominence in the region, then don't fucking blow up the entire region. Iran never nationalized their oil production until 1979. Iran moved to nationalize their oil production, and that was a bridge too far for British Petroleum. That is the reason why they went to the CIA. Or OSS, I guess, at the time. Or no, I guess it was CIA at that point.
Stops. Behind the scenes, Saudi Arabia and Iran have been in diplomatic talks, sponsored by China. Regional tensions are cooling, which means that their proxy war in Yemen...
Damn, put some respect on it. Put some respect on it. Let's run that part back, dude.
Iran have been in diplomatic talks, sponsored by China. Regional tensions are cooling, which means that their proxy war in Yemen is also cooling. Saudi Arabia has had enough of the fighting. President Hadi resigns and hands power over to a council meant to govern Yemen and manage the war, and both sides are tired of the fighting. So when that ceasefire is set to expire in October 2022, the conflict mostly stays quiet, even without a new agreement. By 2023, Saudi Arabia and Iran have officially restored their diplomatic relations. Saudi Arabia hoping that this means Iran will stop supporting Houthis to attack their southern border. But the Saudis keep their maritime blockade around the country, making life in Yemen unlivable for millions. But at this point, the heaviest of the fighting on all sides has stopped. But then, in the fall of 2023, the Houthis were back in the news. After the Palestinian group Hamas launches a brutal attack into Israel,
Bro, oh, where's that chatter? Guts team. Iran had no problem working with NATO to destabilize Iraq, Afghanistan for its own ambitions. Hell, it didn't even have an issue with taking Israel support against Saddam. This whole anti-imperialist narrative is just a response to being kicked out of the club, just like Russia. Not gonna lie, you're way off the mark here. Iran is hated in the region for its Shia expansionist goals. I don't think you're understanding the words that are coming out of my mouth. I literally openly mentioned that while there is Shia expansionist momentum from Iran, Iran at times has even reduced its support to Hamas. There would be no Hezbollah. There would be no Hezbollah. There would be no force of popular resistance against Israel in Lebanon. There would be no force of popular resistance in Palestine against Israel without Iran helping them. If you don't want Iran to have more power in the region, then don't fuck with the region. That's what I'm saying. And no, Iran didn't refuse to work with America and NATO in Iraq and Afghanistan. That is correct. It is absolutely correct. He's not wrong. You are wrong if you think that Iran did not offer direct targets, direct al-Qaeda targets to America. They did. Iran also literally fought ISIS in these regions as well. So you are wrong. That chatter is right, but not in the way that he is framing the issue. That's why it's so funny when Americans are like, dude, fucking Iran, dude. Fucking Iran, they're part of that axis of evil, baby. What the fuck? Yeah, let's give them hell. It's like, bro, Iran, even after being put on the axis of evil list by that same dipshit that we were listening to earlier today, chirping about the civility of American Congress, still continued to offer targets to American security forces in the region. Yeah, like the time they wanted to ally with the U.S. to allow them to carry their imperialism, but Israel refused. But I agree with you. The current imperialist regime is a direct result of Western expansion. Wait, what? They wanted to ally with the U.S. to allow them to carry their imperialism, but Israel refused. Okay, that I'm confused as to what you're saying. It's not like Iran is wholeheartedly in support of Palestinian emancipation beyond utilizing popular Palestinian resistance groups to destabilize Israel. If they were legitimately interested in defending the Palestinians and engaging in Palestinian emancipation, they would have fucking rocketed Israel on October 8th, okay? It is a reality that the Palestinians are aware of as well, or at least the resistance groups are aware of as well, which is why they didn't even collaborate with the Iranian government on October 7. A fact, by the way, that was reasserted by the Iranian government, the Israeli government, and the American government. Anyway.
Israeli military invades the Gaza Strip, vowing to destroy Hamas and free the hostages that they took. The campaign leads to tens of thousands of Palestinian civilian deaths, and it provokes a response from...
Yeah, Iran and Hamas had a brief pause in their allegiance. I don't know if it was I guess it was between 2011 and 2017. I don't remember the exact details, but I do know that they're not like when people try to say that like Hamas is being directed by Iran, or when people try to say that Ansar Allah is being directed by Iran, that is not correct. Okay? These can be considered Iranian proxies to some degree, as long as their interests are aligned. Hamas originally, and still is, by the way, a Sunni group. They're not even, Hamas itself is not even a fucking Shia group. They're Sunni. It is originally a fucking, oh shit, Aldani Markey. Imperialism in the Marxist sense would, at the very least, presuppose some sort of profit incentive. Iranian support for various armed groups in the region is at best a net negative for the Iranian economy. They're losing money on this. Iran having relations with non-state actors, funding them and supporting them is not imperialism. Iran is bleeding money through this policy. I would probably agree with the argument that Iranian influence in Iraq has been for the worse, but to speak of Iranian imperialism in Yemen is far-flung lunacy with no basis in reality. Holy shit. What's up, Alden Markey? Is this the same person? From Twitter? Yes, lol. Respect. Yes. Iranian interest in the region is born out of anti-American imperialist desires. That's it. 100%. And there have been times when Iran has withdrawn support or even refused to support to the degree that they claim they would if Israel violated red lines. Remember, Iran only struck Israeli soil after Israel tried to open up another front of war against Iran in an effort to possibly bring America into the fold in a more meaningful capacity. Iran did not strike Israel after Israel violated previously set red lines that Iran had never really enforced because they never technically had to. Iran struck Israel after Israel struck the Iranian consulate compound. Okay? That should at least have make you, understand what the Iranian ambition is here.
Iranian-backed groups all throughout the region. The Houthis are one of those groups. They launch drones and cruise missiles into southern Israel, vowing that their attacks won't stop until the invasion of Gaza stops. And then they start firing their missiles and drones at cargo ships that are traveling through the Red Sea, where 25% of container traffic travels, a major artery in our global economy. In the days after these missiles start flying, traffic through this Red Sea route declines by 73%. In response, the US and UK shoot down Houthi missiles and drop bombs on Houthi military targets in Yemen, pulling the US and its allies deeper into this enduring conflict. The reason I wanted to tell you the story...
Yeah, America was they forced America's hand again, dude. It's just so crazy. The other side of this is never mentioned. Israel, no power whatsoever in the Israel small bean. America also small bean. Poor America had its hand forced. It's just like the brave people of Yemen across the board, which is united on this front, by the way, which people should remember when talking about Yemen. The most uniting principle for the entire country that was under insane blockade and genocide. What united everyone, including those who fought previously against Ansar Allah, was what was happening in Gaza. America could get Israel to stop doing a genocide in Gaza. They could. They just choose not to and then act like the only mechanism of enforcement that they have is by attacking anyone and everyone that has something to say about the genocide in Gaza.
Of this conflict in Yemen, because it represents the vicious cycle present in a lot of proxy wars. where geopolitical rivals use their neighbors as battlefields instead of fighting each other directly. They fund and add fuel to local conflicts, escalating them to the entire country and often to the entire region, leaving violence and power vacuums in their wake, which are then filled by bad actors, trying to take advantage of the instability. All of this changes borders, destroys cities, and ruins lives. It's the story of powerful countries. And
did Johnny say USA once? Yes. Johnny Harris only brought up the United States in this conversation to say that Obama reluctantly gave billions of dollars of weapons to Saudi Arabia to conduct a genocide, which he didn't say was a genocide, by the way. I don't think once did he ever mention that it was a genocide. Okay. He also then mentioned that America reluctantly was forced to deal with the Houthi plight after the Ansar Allah government started blocking ships from going up this little passage right here. Hello, I'm from Spain, and I don't know how people from the Western world can be okay with terrorist groups funded by Iran. How can people like a group of terrorists? That was not a Spanish accent. I know, I fucked up. No. Hello, I'm from Spain. And I only like terror cells that are funded by the American government or entire states that are doing terrorism. As long as they're aligned with the American government and our interests.
their cynical scramble for influence and power in vulnerable places, leaving behind them a wake of tremendous human suffering.
Okay. GDF had a good video about how Israel vetoed Iranian efforts in the 90s to befriend America and to be seen as an ally. That's what I meant. In the context of Yemen, things are different. I agree. Okay, let's move on. Russia not aiming